Welcome back to BookedMM with Mrs. Mullen. Today I am actually going to talk to you about 3 books at the same time, and that's because this is a series. Now there's a really good reason why I'm talking to you about all 3 instead of doing a review on each one separately. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. Now the books are No Safety in Numbers, No Easy Way Out, and No Dawn Without Darkness. These are written by Dayna Lorentz, and this is the first series that I've read by her. She is a creative writing professor. I think this is actually her first set of books, and it's really well done, so I do expect to see more from her in the future. This is a science fiction series only because something like this hasn't actually happened yet. But it's more realistic fiction in that there's not technology that we don't have in the book. It's just a scary scenario that's possible but hasn't happened yet. So that's where you engage that science fiction element. This story takes place in a mall in the United States in the not so distant future. It involves a series of characters, and it's told from each of those characters' points of view. And it's told, all 3 books together cover approximately 5 weeks in sequence across the course of the story. So you're looking at one book following the next one. Like this is the first week, second week, and third week. But I'll tell you more about that in just a second, because before I get started, spoiler alert, in my enthusiasm to tell you about these stories, especially since I'm going to be talking about 3 in a row, I'll probably tell you something you might not want to know before you read it. If that's the case, go ahead and stop now. All right, so the first book is week 1, day 1 through 7. And basically you have approximately 2,000 people in the mall, and a dirty bomb goes off. Now this is bioterrorism. In this case, this is a terrorist that decides to kill people with disease. Okay? The terrorists put a bomb into the ventilation system in the mall. So it slowly releases a engineered virus. And their intent is that the people would get it in the mall and then leave the mall and infect the entire country. Kind of like that game that people play online. That game? Where Plague? What's the one where you try to kill everybody in the universe with your virus?
Plague Inc.
Plague Inc.
That's an app game.
Okay. Kind of like that app game, Plague Inc., where you try to kill the entire world with your virus. They're trying to do the same thing. Their plans are thwarted, however, when one of the characters, Marco, finds the bomb. And immediately the mall is sealed off. They don't let anybody in. They don't let anybody out. And they leave the people who are there to deal with the virus, while at the same time trying to find a way to rescue as many people as possible. The problem is it's a new virus that no one's seen before, and they're not quite sure the effects or how it spread. And so for the first book, you're dealing with a lot of unknowns. People are dying and they don't know why, and they're trying to solve it. Now, the story is centered around the teenager's experience. While we do have adults in the story, like Shay has a grandmother and Lexi has a mother and a father, really we're looking at it through the eyes of the teenagers and how they're dealing with chaos, fear, are they going to follow the rules that the government's setting down? How are they going to survive? And it kind of becomes a story of survival of the fittest. And we see these people becoming the worst aspects of themselves. And then how are they going to deal with the consequences of the choices that they make? The main characters are Shay, who is at the mall initially with her grandmother and her younger sister. There's Lexi, whose mother is a senator and happens, because of this event, to be like the central government representative in the mall. The government talks directly to her about their plans, and she gives them reports on the mall. And Lexi's kind of on the fringe of that because her mom doesn't want to tell her the truth about what's really going on until, well, like halfway through book 2. Then we have Marco, who is a mall worker. He works at one of the restaurants in the mall, so he has access to food and water, which becomes interesting later as the stories go through. And then there is Ginger, who is a rich girl who is there with her best friend Maddie, and they're shopping. And then there is Ryan, who is a football player who's there looking for a Halloween costume. So over the course of the 3 books, we have how these people deal with the virus itself, how they deal with the dwindling resources. So these characters have to deal with all sorts of different emotions, and each of them handles it differently according to their personality. That makes the story itself intriguing. You start to pull for one character, then they do something, you're like, how dare they? And then you kind of start pulling for a different character. And what I liked is that their reactions were realistic. So it was something that you would expect people to do, and choices that you would expect people to make if they were put in such a horrible situation as this. It kept me reading. It's one of those where, I'm going to be honest, I read all 3 books in 2 days because I wanted to know what happened next. And that's why I say you need to have all 3. Because this is day 1 through 7. It doesn't resolve itself. The author literally cliffhangs you. Then you get the next one, and it's days 7 through 14. And once again, there's no resolution. It's a cliffhanger. Oh my goodness, this major thing's going to happen, and what are you going, what's going to happen next? So that you're like, ah! So you get the 3rd book. The 3rd book actually ends, though. So that's good. But you don't get the ending till here. So it's honestly, they should have just published it as one gigantic book, because really, that's the way it goes. You turn the last page here, and it flows into the first page of this book. So I'd have all 3 in my hand when I got set to read these books. No Safety in Numbers, No Easy Way Out, and No Dawn Without Darkness. I think you'll like them. Thank you for tuning in to BookedMM with Mrs. Mullen. This is your daily I just stabbed myself. This is your daily reminder. Keep reading.